Welcome to Gifts That Give Back by the Giving Back Society.
Hey everyone, Karen here. It's been a while since I've been able to hop in and say hello, so I'm super excited to be here today. And I just want to start by saying, how are you doing? Um, we are in such an incredibly crazy time. I don't know if anybody else feels like their lives are just completely turned upside down. But it's it's really hard, I think, when that happens, when we have all of this other stuff going on, whether you're now working from home and homeschooling your kid, or you're not working at all potentially, which is scary and unknown future. Or maybe you have all this time, but you're not quite sure what to do with it because we're social distancing and everything. So there's there's a really easy kind of uncomfortableness. Like it's really hard to fit in giving back, right? When everything else is going on, it's really hard to fit it in and to make it a part of our lives, especially when it's all in a new way. Those of you who did a lot of volunteering, especially if anyone's in the more susceptible targeting for this virus, right? All of a sudden, in-person volunteering is a lot of it's gone, a lot of it's changed, everything's closed, or it's just not safe. So we really have to come together and find new ways to give back and really kind of address that, because of course we still want to. Just because things are crazy doesn't mean that we don't want to make a difference. I think so many of us really have that drive, but finding a way to do it in this new landscape is an interesting challenge. So anyhow, so I wanted to hop on live today because I'm actually really excited. I have been wanting to start this series to hop on and do the occasional little video for something I've dubbed Gifts That Give Back. And I think that this is a really interesting way that we can make a difference here and there. A lot of times we go to purchase something and it's kind of like, shopping local. You want to support your local store instead of some of the big box stores. This is another way. It kind of takes it to another level, though. There's a lot of gifts out there, a lot of things that we can buy that help different causes, whether they fundraise or the actual gift themselves is something to enable us to be better change makers and to leave less of a footprint on the earth, or help animals, or help other people. There's so many things out there. So I had been purchasing these small little gifts. They're nothing super exciting or super expensive, but they are things that give back in one way or the other. And so I'm going to start by featuring one when I can hop on here and just talk about the cause it helps. And I hope you find this helpful. I hope it kind of opens up your mind to different things that you can purchase, because that is one thing. We can do a lot of online shopping. That's definitely something that, and almost everything that I have actually has been purchased online. So that's why I'm here today. So for today, I am going to be talking about a wildlife rescue kit that I purchased from the Nutmeg Acres Wildlife Rehabilitation. They're in northeastern Connecticut. I'm in southeastern Connecticut, so they're just a little bit of a drive away. But they had this on their Facebook page, and it was a fundraiser, but it's also an empowerment tool. It's also it's a rescue kit for me to have in my car here before we the two of us are going to have trouble fitting on screen. There we go. So it's basically a pet carrier box. We're going to open it together and go through the stuff. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited to actually to share this with you, to kind of show you what's in it and talk about wildlife rehabilitation a little bit, but also to then be able to put it in my car instead of in my office. So I'm really excited. So I want to just, I'm not going to stand here too long, but I just want to chat a little bit. Wildlife rehabilitation is something that isn't understood by everybody. It's not animal rescue. It's a little bit different. It's the treatment and care of an injured, diseased, or orphaned wild animal. The goal is, though, it's not getting a wild animal and taking it for, as a pet. That's the exact opposite of what they do. Their goal is to treat it, to get it healthy, to release it back in the wild. That's the main goal that they have. Of course, not every animal, unfortunately, A, makes it, or B, is still releasable. So at that point, they will try to find like an education program or something that the animal could live with people and further the cause. So um, it's, as I said, it's not cuddling wild animals. It's not keeping them as pets. In fact, you want to spend as little time, interacting with them as possible because you want them to remain wild. So it's really interesting. It's also really hard. This is a job that can be really emotionally draining. I just watch these rehab people, the rehabilitators on Facebook, and the stories. I mean, they get these tiny little animals, and a lot of them don't make it, and it's heartbreaking. So it is something that I respect greatly, the work that these people do. So to be able to not only support, but also to, in turn, be a little bit more prepared for emergencies is really exciting to me. So there are two different groups of people who take care of distressed animals. There are rehabilitation centers, which are most often nonprofits, and then there are home-based rehabilitators. And one thing to note that neither group receives funding for their efforts. Okay, these are they have to fundraise or provide the funding themselves. That, especially the home-based ones, that really shows you their dedication level, because some of these animals, they take an amazing amount of care. You talk about baby birds, they need to be fed every 15 minutes from dawn till dusk. There are, elaborate cages, and I hate the word cages, but areas for the animal to transition from emergency care to then get them used to the wild. And some of the animals, like raccoons, can carry some diseases that they have to be really careful if they have pets or anything, that they don't cross-contaminate. There's a lot to it, and it's something that they go through training for. It's actually legal to take a wild animal home. So this is something they are certified. I went to the training they have. I think it was in Bristol. I think it might still be. It's once a year they do it. It's a great training, even if you just want to learn more. But to get certified, you then have to pass a test and all of this other stuff. It's involved, but it's really interesting. It's really neat. Other things that I'd like you to know: this cause isn't limited to just small backyard critters. For these guys, that's what they do. But you can also find centers that work to save animals like seals, birds of prey, bobcats, and more. There's a lot of different facilities. But then on the flip side, a lot of facilities are unable to take adult animals sometimes. Sometimes it's only babies. So there's not really the perfect solution necessarily for every type of animal, every type of emergency or situation, unfortunately. And this not so fun fact: research shows that over 75% of the animals cared for are affected in some manner by human activities, like nest tree destruction, car or window collisions, run-in with pets, poisonings, non-target trapping or shooting, and things like that. So that's really sad to see how much humans actually cause this problem. Which, of course, I think makes it even more important to be able to help where we can. So, as I said, it is illegal to take in wildlife, so don't try this at home. Don't just decide to be a wildlife rehabilitator. Definitely go through training. And I also want you guys to know, really important, even touching certain animals, especially ones that can carry rabies, while you're trying to help them, even you're trying to help them, actually coming into contact with them can result in automatic euthanasia for the animal. So there is a lot to learn. There are a lot of situations. But on a more positive note, let's talk about the Nutmeg Acres Wildlife Rehabilitation. So they're serving all of Connecticut, but specifically northeastern Connecticut, and they are a member of the National Wildlife Rehabilitators Association. And they are, I'm just going to read right off their Facebook page, they're committed to fostering an understanding and respect for all Connecticut wildlife through education, practical assistance with wildlife issues. They strive to provide quality and humane care to injured and orphan wildlife with a goal of releasing them back into the wild. So, they do everything from medical care to nutrition, housing, to animals in their care. And the expenses, as I said, can add up. They range from medication to medical supplies, formula supplements, veterinary care, food, bedding, cages, outdoor pre-release pens, and more. So that's just a little bit about them. I want to plug them because I've been following them for quite some time, and they do a really wonderful job. And they've had everything from toads to squirrels to bunnies to it's all different. Oh, speaking of animals, my cat's making an appearance. Anyhow, so without further ado, let's get into this this kit. So this is an emergency wildlife kit. You're meant to keep it in your car, and it's for the occasion where you come across an injured animal in the street while you're driving or wherever you may be with your car. Generally, it's from road accidents. Anything from turtles, which unfortunately I had found a turtle that had been hit a few months back, to possums, to raccoons, all of that kind of stuff. So the kit is designed to be kept in your car, and it has a certain amount of different tools and whatnot that you need. So it's it's just a regular cardboard box with the supplies. And this kit, was put together by this group, but there's no reason that another group couldn't put together their own kit, or if you wanted to support a local group, then you could put together a kit as a fundraiser for them. So it's really simple. There's about 7 things in here. And the first one is a fluorescent vest. And this is where my cat gets to participate. That's Quincy. So the first one is a fluorescent vest, and that's just for your safety because a lot of the times things happen near roads and at night, dusk and dawn. So you want to be really careful yourself. And on that note, also a flashlight because, again, lighting and whatnot, you want to be able to see what you're doing and who you're helping. The other item in here are heavy gloves. Now, disclosure for me, being vegan, I declined to take their gloves because they were leather and I didn't want leather gloves. So I went on to Amazon, and bought, the thickest kind of non-leather gloves that I could find. And so that's what I'm using for my kit, but obviously to each his own on that. Let's see here. There's also a towel. Right, so a nice little brown towel here, just a regular bath towel, nothing fancy. But when you find an injured animal, especially if it's still mobile or able to move, it's going to be frightened of you. I mean, that's just completely understandable. So you want to throw that towel down really quick to be able to kind of, catch it, for lack of a better term. I guess that's really, obviously the box is to then put it in there. And it also comes with a pillowcase, which is another really good tool. So if you kind of get it into the towel or under the towel, they might panic a little less, they might not run as far, and then try to scoop them into the pillowcase. The pillowcase makes a good traveling case, if depending on the sizing and the box and how everything works. Other part of that, of course, the whole point of this is to be able to safely capture the animal and bring it to your local rehabilitator. So you do not want a wild animal running around in your car while you're trying to actually, drive safely, hopefully. And then just a couple more things. We have a first aid kit, right? So, despite best efforts, there may be an emergency. Obviously, you don't want to risk yourself, but you may get scratched or bitten. So that depends on how comfortable you feel the situation, the animal, your own safety. Again, if it's a rabies species animal, safety first. I don't want to have any lawsuits over that one. That's really important to note. And my messages are going off. Here we go. So second to last is a little bag. And so this is rubber gloves, like medical rubber gloves. And then the batteries for the flashlight, and then a rubber band, and that's used to tie the pillowcase shut if you have an animal in there. And then last, this is an interesting one. These are just hand warmers, right? I used to use these a lot with skiing and snowboarding and whatnot when it was really cold. These are actually, if you find an abandoned, especially like a little baby, like a baby bird or something that is very young and could catch cold, you would never want to put them directly on this, but you would put this like underneath a couple layers of towel to keep them warm while they're being transported. So that's all that's in the kit. It's nothing, as I said, it's not rocket science, but it's a really thorough, well thought out kit that they put together. And I feel like I just feel so much more prepared with this in my car. I love the idea of having this because you just don't know when that kind of situation is going to happen. As I said, I did come across a turtle once, and I had like an old bag in my car, like a tote bag, and I ended up kind of shuffling it into that, which was awkward and strange for both of us, I think. But so you want to be as prepared as you possibly could be. And on that note, I did want to talk just really quick about a couple of just little tips for different types of animals, because how you treat them, react to them, everything. It's, again, information is knowledge. So information is knowledge. Information is power. There we go. It's Monday. I'm doing my best. So anyhow, you want to learn to recognize distressed animals. One of the animals that you see, as I mentioned, turtles. A lot of times you'll see them in the street, and one of the best things you can do for them if they're uninjured is to literally pick them up and be careful. Again, gloves, especially if it's snapping turtles, but to pick them up and move them to the side of the street in the direction they were going. You don't want to turn them around, even if there's a pond over there. That makes more sense. They're doing, turtle things. I don't know if it's for mating or for what, but they do have their particular paths that they go. So you always want to put them in the direction they're going. The other thing about turtles is just because you see one that's injured, that's been hit, doesn't mean that it necessarily is dead. It can be really sad. The turtle that I found, the shell was broken on top really bad. And she was in rough shape. She didn't make it, sadly. It was really sad for me to hear that. We have a turtle rescue. I should have looked up their name. I'll try to remember it and I can put it in the notes. But they rehabilitate turtles. That's their specialty. But it was sad. I at least got her there, and they could take as best care of her as they could. But it's deceiving. So just because you see a turtle that's been hit doesn't mean they're dead. And if you kind of stop and watch them and go over carefully and see, you can gauge what's going on there. Another animal that a lot of people kind of miss are bunnies. Check for bunnies before you mow your lawn. They nest in like under dried leaves, basically. So you really want to be careful. And if you do find them, they're fine. They're fine without mama. Like, she will come back if you leave them alone. Obviously, if they're injured, it's a different story, but she will come back if you leave them alone. And again, this is wild bunnies. This is wild rabbits. This is not domesticated bunnies. That's a totally different thing, and they cannot survive in the wild. There's a great rescue down in Connecticut, southwestern Connecticut, Hopalong Hollow. Really good bunny rescue there. So if you ever need information on rabbits, you can talk to them as far as the domesticated version. Another thing, baby birds, if they fall from their nest, the best chance for survival is to put it back in the nest. And it's actually a myth that if you touch them, the parents won't come back because of the smell or whatever. That's actually, that's not going to keep the mama bird away. So don't necessarily rush out if you can just put it back in the nest. And that's the best solution, their best survival potential. And then deer are also another tricky one. So as far as I know, no rehabilitators treat adult deer, but for fawns, for babies, it can be a little alarming. You can kind of stumble across them in a field or whatever by themselves. But this is another case where mama is coming back. They basically they bed down and just stay quiet while mom's out doing her thing, eating and whatever she's doing. So just because you find a baby deer by itself, if it's like cozy and safe and like, looks unattended, I guess would be the word, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. So don't rush to call a rehabilitator, and certainly don't pick it up and bring it anywhere. Just leave the deer where it is. And lastly is possums, which I have such a soft spot for. Possums are, it makes me sad because they get hit a lot. Obviously they're slow, and their reaction to fear is to play dead, which if you're in a road is not a great plan. But they're actually, first of all, they are the lowest. The risk of rabies is so low with them. They're not like some of the other rabies-based animals, and there's some confusion with that. They also eat about 4,000 ticks a week, I think it is. So especially if you're, I grew up in Lyme, so that's Lyme disease. Obviously, tick prevention is great. So opossums are great to have around. The thing with possums and this kind of emergency is that if you see a possum that's been killed in the road, their babies can be inside a pouch. Okay, so, and this is something I've never encountered, and I don't know how brave I will be in that scenario. I might call somebody else, but you can check and look in the pouch to see if there are baby possums and then transport. And I should look that up. I believe you would want to try to take the whole, like the mom with the babies inside. I'm not sure. As I said, I've never actually been in that scenario, but I know that checking for the baby, and the babies can be like this big. They can be really small. So that's another one to kind of keep an eye out. So if you are driving and you see a dead possum, you can go and you can check the pouch to see if there are babies. So that's kind of the scoop. That's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. As I said, this was a fundraiser. It was, raise money for this wonderful rehabilitation group. And they do such good work up there. And as I said, it really is something that, first of all, find out where your local rehabilitators are, because if you do find an injured animal, you're going to want to know where to go and not have to start from scratch and figure out where to start. In Connecticut, the state DEEP has some listings, and then there are some other nonprofit facilities that have listings, like the Denison Pequot Center. So there are places to kind of go. But in your state, or your country, look it up, find out the best place to go, and put it in your phone. Have an emergency injured wildlife contact. It can't hurt to have that information. If something does happen, you'll be prepared. So I am just really excited about this. Don't hesitate to actually create your own and do fundraisers for your local wildlife rehab. It's definitely a good thing. And it's all about getting the wildlife as quickly as possible to the rehabilitator. That's the key. And that's how you're going to have the best chances of saving their life. So anyhow, this is, the first in the series. And as I said, it's a range of things. This is, I think, the biggest and bulkiest. Some of them are dainty and cute, and some are decorative, some are functional. I don't want to give them all away, but actually half of them I don't honestly remember what they are because they're all still in boxes. So it'll be an adventure to come on here and to feature causes and to feature different things. And again, this is a great activity right now. If you want to help some wildlife, make these kits, fundraise, give them as gifts, obviously gifts that give back. That's the whole theme. And let us help the animals we can. So anyhow, I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you enjoyed our little chat today, and I hope that you're well. So I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.